Hello. I want to offer you some suggestions for working with your visual skills, your head turning skills, which means they are also balance skills. So the idea is that you want to be able to have your eyes and your head not only working together to see your target, your object, but also to have them work somewhat independently. And I think that's really important for your movement in general, the way you feel in relation to the world, how comfortable you feel. It's a way of lowering your threat level. I've been watching some folks lately. We've been doing a balance class course over the past month now, and watching some people work with some of the exercises and drills. I think I've started to see where many people have challenges. So a way to kind of progress these practices might be helpful, I thought. So I think one thing that messes with people is, let's say you've got a target out in front of you, my thumb, or let's say I'll use this pen, and I'm looking at that pen and I start to follow it. So if I'm following that target and keeping it in focus, everything in the background gets blurry. That's just the way your eyes work, your vision works. And I think for many people that kind of discrepancy between something that you can see and then something that's out of focus at the same time might be one of the reasons it's so uncomfortable for people. And that's probably contributing to their difficulty with doing these exercises, and it's a factor in their balance. So a way to regress these practices, instead of looking at the target, the near target, you look at the farthest thing you can see, because that's in effect your background now. Your background's not going to move in relation to anything behind it. So you just look at eye level to the farthest thing out, like here's what we've got in mind, this little compass. So imagine this is out in front of you and you're looking at this, and this is your center point, and you're going to eventually learn to move your eyes and your head together and independently along these 8 directions, okay? Very simple. So what I'm doing is looking out in front of me at that center point of the target, and then I'm going to first turn my head and my eyes, let's say in the down direction. All right, I'm going to look just down here. Then I'm going to look back to that far point at the center. Then I'm going to look up in the distance to the farthest thing I can see. Not too great of an angle that I'm moving through there. Back to the center. I'll look to one side, back to the center, to the other side, back to the center. I'll look along those diagonals too. Upper, in my case, my upper left, my lower left, back to the center. I'll look to the upper right, my upper right, your upper left, and then down. So my eyes and my head are more or less moving in the same direction, okay? If you're good with that, then maybe the next step you could try is, let's say I'm going to look slightly off to my right, to your left, toward a target. Then I'm going to keep my head there, and to help ensure that my head's not moving, I'm going to bring my hand to my chin. You could lock your head in a vise if that's helpful, all right? So I keep my head in that direction, and then I just bring my eyes back to the center, all right, without turning my head. So I'm practicing looking way out in the direction my nose is pointing, and then back to the center of that target. And I just get comfortable making that shift. That's one of the fundamental eye skills, is shifts. Looking at one, you need to be able to look at one thing, and then you need to be able to switch and look at something else. That's what we're practicing, all right? So I'm just going to turn my head, keep it there, at something in the distance, look back to the center. Try that a couple of times, and then I'm going to bring my gaze back to that center point and then turn my head back to the center. Very simple. Same thing to my left, your right. I'm going to turn my head, then I'm going to keep my head out there, turn my eyes back to that center point, and then just practice shifting my eyes from the center to out about 45 degrees or something like that, whatever that is. All right? So I don't have anything in the background moving, and I'm just getting my eye muscles used to making that shift, that switch. Okay? I can do that as fast as I want to. Then I'm going to hold my gaze on the center point and then rotate my head back into the center. Amazing. Now you're going to do that in all of those 8 directions. I'm going to turn my head up and then turn my eyes back to that far center point. And I'm just going to practice moving my eyes from one point to the other like that. Then I'll look down to a point, keep my head down, back to the far center point. Just like that. Switches. Then the diagonals. Up to that diagonal, to the center, back and forth. Then I'll hold the gaze, rotate my head back in. I'll look up, hold my head, then look out to the far point, and then switch eyes. Hold my gaze on the far point, head back to the center. Down. I'm going to look down, back to the center. Down, back to the center. Like that. Then finally, eyes to the center, head back to level. One more diagonal. I'm going to look down, hold my head there, back to the center point. Down and back, like that with the eyes. Then hold my eyes out at the center point, and move my head back. Maybe that will start to get the eyes moving in these 8 directions, and then you can start to keep the eyes fixed on the far point and move just your head along those 8 directions. All right, something like that. I didn't really do that sequentially, but you get the idea. All right, those are pretty challenging for a lot of people, so you might want to do it slow, take your time, and make the range of movement of your head just very small angles so that you can actually hold it there and start to practice moving your eyes and your head independently of each other. Right? So something like that. We'll continue with these practices, and hopefully you'll continue with those practices. Try those a few times a day. Eye switches, independent of your head position. And then, once you get comfortable at the far range, so the background's not shifting or blurring in relation to a near target, then you can add in your near target and start focusing on moving your head in relation to that near target. Because now you've got the head positions mapped out, and maybe you'll start to be more comfortable with the background getting blurry in relation to your focused near target. Okay? And also, you can move your target, because that's going to really mess with your brain too. You don't move your head, you just do your smooth pursuits along those 8 lines. All right, that's another skill that you need. Maybe you start out with that one, just going down a little bit, holding that for a couple of seconds, and then back to your center point. You really want to build up to being able to hold each of those 8 positions at the end range up to about 30 seconds, believe it or not. So I was hoping that would be more systematic when I did it, but maybe that'll give you some ideas to practice and start to make these things your own, own them, and then you can start to engage the world with a little more visual dexterity. All right, give those a practice, a try. Thanks. Namaste.